Remember on the old Batman show, the Penguin had those henchmen and the bowler hats and the tight black shirts? This is what Trump wanted, a goon squad, a bunch of tough guys to rough people.
You already know Trump doesn't let things go, especially not when someone on live TV humiliates him night after night. But what you might not know is how deep this feud with Jimmy Kimmel has really gotten, and how far Trump allegedly went behind the scenes to shut him up. This isn't just some harmless back and forth between a late-night comic and a former president. According to insiders, Trump didn't just complain, he wanted Jimmy Kimmel stopped, silenced, investigated. And now, Kimmel's finally responding in the most brutal way possible, publicly mocking Trump's threats and revealing just how far he's willing to go to call him out. And trust me, the response wasn't just funny. It was personal. Let's be clear. Jimmy Kimmel didn't stumble into this feud. He's been one of Trump's most vocal late-night critics for years. But recently, as reports surfaced that Trump allegedly asked the DOJ and FCC if there was a way to legally stop Kimmel from airing anti-Trump monologues, the situation turned dark. That's when Kimmel decided to stop playing nice, and the gloves came off. On air, in interviews, even on social media, Kimmel didn't just roast Trump. He exposed him. He said exactly what millions have been thinking, but with the reach and guts to do it where it hurts Trump most, in front of millions of viewers. One of the most cutting things Kimmel said? He mocked Trump's obsession with television by saying, "Imagine being so fragile that a joke on a late-night show sends you into full dictator mode." That quote alone lit up social media, but he didn't stop there. Kimmel started linking Trump's behavior to authoritarian crackdowns around the world, and he's not wrong. Because when a former president seriously considers using government agencies to silence comedy, we're past hurt feelings and deep into threat to democracy territory. And if you think this is just showbiz beef, think again. This is now a public battle between free speech and political revenge. Jimmy Kimmel didn't tiptoe around Trump's reported threats, he lit them on fire. The moment reports leaked that Trump had asked his team if the government could stop Kimmel from mocking him on TV, Kimmel responded with a monologue that left no doubt. This wasn't going to be ignored. In one of his sharpest broadcasts to date, Kimmel opened with a sarcastic grin and said, "Looks like I've been living rent-free in Donald Trump's head. And apparently, now he wants to evict me with the FBI." The audience erupted, but the subtext was serious. Kimmel wasn't just mocking Trump for being petty. He was accusing him of attempting to weaponize federal power to silence critics. And in the next few minutes, he tore Trump apart with precision. Throughout the segment, Kimmel didn't hold back. He called Trump a wannabe dictator with a cable subscription and pointed out the irony of a self-proclaimed free speech warrior trying to censor jokes. He laid out the timeline, how the story emerged from sources close to the administration, how Trump had reportedly asked the DOJ about shutting down late-night ridicule, and how it wasn't the first time he'd targeted comedians or media personalities. Kimmel even pulled up clips of Trump praising dictators for being strong leaders, and tied it all together with one brutal line. The only difference between Trump and Putin is that Putin knows when to shut up. It was cutting, but it was also strategic. Kimmel wasn't just going for laughs. He was exposing a dangerous pattern. And America noticed. Within hours, clips of the segment went viral. Major outlets picked it up. Hashtags like #Kimmel versus Trump and #Trump threat trended across platforms. Even rival late-night hosts gave Kimmel credit for standing his ground. But it wasn't just celebrities or journalists who were paying attention. Everyday viewers flooded comment sections and message boards, sharing their shock, not just at Trump's alleged actions, but at how close we'd come to censorship without even realizing it. The real story wasn't just about two men with egos. It was about the boundaries of presidential power, and what happens when someone with that power tries to cross the line. By the time the monologue ended, it was clear. Jimmy Kimmel wasn't afraid of Trump. He wasn't backing down. And if anything, The threat had made him louder. What was once a running joke had turned into a battle for principle. And this time, the comedian had the microphone, the spotlight, and the receipts.
Dangerous, disturbing, un-American, and why do I get lumped in with other comedy mischief makers?
What Jimmy Kimmel experienced wasn't new. Not for Trump, and not for anyone who's dared to publicly criticize him. If you think Trump's obsession with silencing Kimmel is extreme, you haven't seen the full pattern. Trump has been using intimidation, lawsuits, and power plays to go after anyone who questions him since the early days of his campaign. Remember when he threatened to open up the libel laws so he could sue newspapers that wrote negatively about him? Or when he tried to revoke press passes from CNN and accused entire media outlets of being the enemy of the people? Kimmel is just the latest in a long list of critics who've triggered Trump's wrath, and he likely won't be the last. Let's go back. During his presidency, Trump didn't just complain about the press. He actively tried to control it. He banned reporters from press briefings, threatened to revoke the FCC licenses of networks that aired stories he didn't like, and encouraged violence at his rallies by calling journalists scum. One particularly chilling moment came when he tweeted a video of himself physically attacking a CNN logo, edited from a WWE match, and his supporters cheered. That wasn't satire. That was a sitting president using violent imagery to target real media professionals. So when you hear that he tried to use the DOJ and FCC to silence Jimmy Kimmel, it's not surprising. It's consistent. Trump doesn't just fight back. He wants total control of the narrative. And it's not just media. Trump's vendettas have extended to political opponents, whistleblowers, authors, and even former staff. He's gone after judges who ruled against him, threatened jail time for leakers, and called for investigations into citizens who protested his policies. This isn't politics as usual. This is a man who views disagreement as disloyalty, and disloyalty as treason. That mindset is dangerous when applied to government, but it's outright chilling when applied to comedians. Because once you accept the idea that making fun of a politician is a punishable offense, you've erased the line between democracy and dictatorship. And Trump? He doesn't just cross that line. He erases it. What makes the Kimmel situation so important is that it pulls back the curtain. Most people don't see what happens behind closed doors when powerful men feel threatened. But this time, we have the reports, the leaks, and Kimmel's own voice pushing back. It's a rare glimpse into how Trump sees criticism, not as part of the system, but as a personal attack that must be crushed. And the more we learn, the clearer it becomes. Kimmel was never just telling jokes. He was striking a nerve that Trump didn't want anyone to touch. What started as another Trump grudge has now become something far more impactful, a public referendum on power, speech, and the role of media in democracy. As Trump gears up for a 2024 comeback and attempts to reshape his public image, his ongoing obsession with Jimmy Kimmel is telling people everything they need to know. Because this isn't just a battle over insults. It's a window into Trump's mindset. And voters are paying attention. Millions of Americans who don't watch Fox News or read political blogs are still watching what happens on YouTube, Twitter, and late-night TV. And when a comedian like Jimmy Kimmel uses his platform to expose Trump's behavior, it hits differently. It doesn't sound like a politician talking. It sounds like someone calling out the obvious. That's why this feud matters. Because it's not being framed as Trump versus Democrats or Trump versus the media. It's being seen and felt as Trump versus anyone who speaks freely. And when regular people see a former president trying to silence someone for making jokes, it reinforces the idea that Trump isn't just insecure, he's dangerous. That idea is gaining traction. In polling groups and online discussions, voters across the political spectrum, even some moderates who once supported Trump, are beginning to ask, if he's willing to go this far over a monologue, what else would he do if he had power again? That's the danger Kimmel is highlighting, not just Trump's fragility, but his impulse to control. And the irony? Trump's attack has only made Kimmel louder and the message sharper. By trying to silence a critic, Trump accidentally gave him a megaphone. People who never watched Kimmel are now tuning in just to hear what he'll say next. Media outlets are covering the feud like it's breaking news. Late-night TV, once dismissed as lightweight entertainment, is now one of the most watched forms of political commentary in America. And Trump helped fuel that shift. Instead of ignoring Kimmel, he made him a symbol of resistance, of humor, of someone who refuses to back down. And in a media war, symbols matter more than sound bites. So, what does this say about Trump going forward? It says the old tactics don't work anymore. Intimidation doesn't silence people, it motivates them. Trying to crush Kimmel didn't protect Trump's reputation, it revealed his insecurities. And every time Trump lashes out, more people ask the one question his team can't spin away. If this is how he acts without power, what would he do with it again? When all the noise settles, this isn't just Trump versus Kimmel. It's not just about ego, jokes, or TV ratings. It's about something much bigger. Who gets to speak, who holds power, and what happens when one man tries to control both. Because if Trump had his way, Jimmy Kimmel's monologue would have never aired. The jokes would have been censored. The headlines wouldn't exist, and we'd never know that a former president seriously considered using government muscle to silence a private citizen over comedy. That's what makes this so alarming. It wasn't just a thought. It was reportedly a conversation in the White House. And if that doesn't wake people up, nothing will. Jimmy Kimmel didn't have to respond. He could have ignored the story, laughed it off, or moved on to another punchline. But he chose to stand up, not just for himself, but for every voice Trump's tried to shut down. Kimmel used humor not as a shield, but as a weapon, a way to expose the absurdity of a powerful man acting like a victim, a way to remind America that freedom of speech doesn't come with a permission slip from a former president. And he did it live, with cameras rolling, knowing full well the backlash it might bring. That kind of courage matters, because it's how resistance begins. Not with a protest sign or a lawsuit, but with someone saying, "You don't get to silence me." Now we know more than we did before. We know Trump sees comedians as enemies. We know he's willing to abuse institutions for personal grudges. And we know that every time someone pushes back, like Kimmel did, it chips away at that power. Because power thrives on fear, on silence, on people thinking they're alone. And when someone with a platform speaks out, it echoes. It spreads. It gives others permission to speak too. That's what this is really about. Not Trump, not Kimmel, but the fight to keep the mic in the hands of the people, even when the powerful demand it back. So next time someone tells you this is all just jokes, remember this. Trump wasn't laughing. He was planning. And Kimmel, he was warning. Because when a joke threatens the powerful, it's no longer just funny. It's truth with a punchline. And that might be the one thing Trump fears most.